Hello and good evening, everybody. It is Sideline Sports as per usual. You might be wondering why there are only two of us on the screen. That is because JB is currently in Mexico, enjoying a little vacation. I guess we bothered him too much. Maybe John's takes finally
and
got.
Eric finally couldn't handle my takes
Yeah,
about Eagles, so he bowed out. Bye,
hold
Eric.
On. Don't give. All right, you know what? This is how we're going to start, John. All right, look, I figured you'd be reasonable for the first minute, 2 minutes before Eric showed up.
You were wrong.
I, as per usual, Eric said he'd be here in just a couple minutes. He's running a little bit late, so that's why he's not here. But JB, like I said, is in Mexico enjoying. I do think, John, your comments have finally gotten to him. I think you forced him to take a break. His old man brain cannot handle your wild comments any further, it seems. Do you have any
JB
do you
or
care
Eric?
To comment? Oh, I was talking about JB.
I thought you were talking about Eric and his old man brain.
Yeah.
They're starting to get up there, forgetting things and things. Oh, there he is. Sorry about that.
Say it to his face, why don't you? Say it to his face, why don't you, huh? How you doing, man?
Hey, this guy, he can't brag about his Eagles, but at least he can brag about the Chicago Sky. So there's that.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can y'all hear me?
We got
yes,
you,
sir.
Eric.
I'm good. Yeah, don't wait for me, fellas. Don't ever wait for me. Get the show started, man.
We didn't. We were chatting a little bit, waiting.
I was talking about you behind your back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was just talking trash. So I was just telling John behind the scenes I wanted to start with. So I think Eric, you weren't on last week, obviously, which is okay. Haven't seen you a little bit. So last week we discussed the Nets. We figured Kyrie Irving, he was the big topic, and then we hear this week, oh, Kyrie wants to go back to the Nets. He takes his player option, and then what happens? Oh yeah, KD says, by the way, Kyrie, you wanted to go back to the Nets. That's great. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to head out, but apparently I still want to play with you. So I'm not really sure what they're thinking or what their logic is. I just wanted to talk about this because the Nets might be – this is not the first time this has happened that they've had this kind of dysfunction where they thought, oh, let's bring in stars that'll work. That whole Kevin Garnett and that Paul Pierce, that was different, but still bad. This is the second time this has happened. They're like, oh, let's bring in stars. Everything's going to be great. And, it seems like it's gone quite the opposite. It's been terrible. So,
well, it's that new age of basketball players where, 1 minute they have a plan in place. They have an idea, and they know what they want to do. When it's not executed to the way they want it to be executed, they then have to rethink their strategy. It's it really, what it does for me is it, in my opinion, hurts the game of basketball because, when I look at two box office players, two guys who can take a game over on the court, and keeping my focus solely there, I know what they're capable of. However, it's all of this, well, do we want to play together? Do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? Like what are you truly going after? Are you going after playing with your boys and creating a championship? Have you lost your love of the game? Like, what is it? That's what I want to know when it comes to this. Because granted, social media has brought so much to light that we were never privy to this information back in the day. Now it's secondhand nature, I mean, look, during the NFL season, the minute someone got traded, Sideline Sports was first to drop we were like, hey, we dropped it within the first 30 minutes. We didn't wait till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 4 p.m. We dropped it as soon as it was hot, right, wrong, or indifferent. And then, when you look at nowadays, it's like, okay, Kyrie, you opted in. Great, fantastic. Kevin Durant, well, now you want to be traded. Can y'all just help us figure out which direction y'all are going? Because we get it's the offseason. I'm just trying to understand what's Brooklyn going to look like come October.
So there's a couple things to unpack with that. First of all, I think that he signed just because I think that they want to do a sign and trade. I think that was the move all along, as he was hoping and expected to be traded. As far as wanting to play with your guys, to me, that just kind of, like you said, Eric, are you doing it for the love of the game because you're trying to team up with your buddies? And that's like if I would cover the Miami Dolphins, at an event, cover their team, and then I let my fandom get in the way of covering the team. You know what I mean? Like
We'll
once
do
you
that on the
start
show
muddying
to
those
us, but you'd
waters,
never do that in real life.
but
Right.
like once you start muddying those
Oh, I
waters,
gotcha.
like it's hard to separate. And so once KD, Kyrie, and whoever start wanting to start talking to each other before signing and saying, "Hey, we want to go here together. Let's meet up here and let's go to Brooklyn or whatever." Like I get it, but at the same time, like there's a reason you're not a GM. And like I said, to me, it takes away from trying to be a professional athlete because you're worried about teaming up with your buddies. And granted, I mean, two hell of a talent, two guys that will probably be in the Hall, you know what I mean? Like first ballot Hall of Famers one day. But that still takes away from the aspect of being a professional athlete when you let your friendship get in the way of what you're trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like if one of those two leaves, is the other one going to want to chase them? Like, I don't
Always.
care
But
Yes.
John,
That's
but John,
absolutely
that's
what
exactly what's going to happen. Because think of it like this, okay? Sideline Sports, let's say the three of us elevate. Let's say, John, you go to ESPN, Jake, you go to Fox, and I go to NBC. Now, we started this network and we got it to that level to where now we can go off and do what we want to do on a bigger platform, okay? But don't think in the back of our mind, hey, man, if there's an opportunity at Fox, I know my boy Jake's over there. I know what Jake and I can do together. Why would I not want to go work with him? Same thing with you. If I knew ESPN had an opportunity and you called me and you were like, E, you got to come, man, we can do this. We can build it from the inside.
Eric? What happens if when you both end up, you convince a guy from ESPN to hire Jake and you are working together, then all of a sudden there's a spot and they're like, we're going to give it to Jake. Eric, you're not good enough. Jake is. And then it's like, you know what I mean? You start muddying the waters. You're like, oh, I see how it is. Like Jake is good enough, but I'm not. Like something like that. And to me, that takes away like I said, from the professionalism. When you start playing those games, you're supposed to be a professional in whatever profession you're in. And once you start doing that, I just personally don't like it.
You're not wrong,
I get it.
but that's
I get it. Hold on really quick
because
because your man, our man Denzel J. Nelson chimed in, so I got a little something I want to show him since he crowned me. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah. Real quick, John, just to real quick while Eric is doing what he's got to do. I mean, I see your point. Oh boy.
He called me the champ, so you know.
I mean, is that a sports arena belt?
That is a sports arena belt, baby, live and in person. Yes.
Babe, that's awesome.
Yes, sports arena belt in the building. He
He
called me the champ, so I figured I might as well wear it with pride. Anyhow, I'm sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead.
It's all right. I mean, you're right. Muddy in the water. But that's the way this game has become. The problem is the waters have been.
Not every player's like that, though, Jake.
No, but I just mean the game as a whole. What I mean by that is super teams are the thing.
Yes.
That started realistically. I think it's probably fair to say somewhere around the 2010s when LeBron joined. So in that area, and I'm not saying it was LeBron when he joined Miami, but I'm saying that was the time for me at least that I could think is realistically when this is started. I mean, that Miami Heat team was one of the first real.
No, I mean you had the Lakers. You always had. You didn't have teams that formed up the way that the Heat did, and
I think
that's what I mean by that.
The Celtics,
you've always
I think
had
the Celtics did it with Garnett, Pierce, and Allen.
See,
you
there
had
you go.
3 experienced vets who, they took a rookie in Rajon Rondo and elevated him to such a level that I don't think is able to get back to that prominence. And when you're working with 3 experienced veterans, Paul Pierce was on his way out the door. And he called up KD, and they got Ray Allen, and the 3 of them said, we're going to take this to that level. And what did they do? They beat Kobe and then got themselves a championship. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I think, in my opinion, I think that's where it started.
But that's a fair point. And my ultimate point is it only started so long ago, but since it started, you saw that. I talked about LeBron. That's another easy example. But it didn't really pick up. I would say where it's happening really often the last 7-8 years, maybe.
Fair.
And those were the early examples of it happening. But the game has shifted to, though, it seems like everybody wants to do it, right? KD went to the Warriors. That's an example. Paul George and Kawhi teaming up in LA. That was a recent example. KD and Kyrie are one of the most recent examples. And these are just examples of it happening. But the point ultimately is it happened a little bit back then. It's becoming more and more prominent now. LeBron and AD in LA. It's just that's the way the game seems to be coming.
But
I don't like it, but that's just the way it is. That's what players are right now.
It's a different sport, but I think that players see the loyalty in a guy like Mike Trout, and they're like, "Wow, this guy's been so loyal to the Angels, and it's gotten him absolutely nothing. He could have left a long time ago and went to a Dodgers or something like that, and had opportunities to win championships.
Could have came home.
And I'm a loyal, like I preach loyalty and stuff like that. So I'll never say don't be loyal. But I understand that guys realize that their shelf lives are very short in their careers. WNBA and NBA and all sports, their shelf lives are very, very short. So whenever you have a chance to go and win, they ask themselves, like, is the team really going to be loyal to me like I would be loyal to them? Or do I need to go and do what's best for what I think is best, whether that's an area where my family would be happy, playing with my friends, money, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that factors in is they're not really worried about loyalty. They want to win, and they don't want to be stuck somewhere where, like Dame Lillard, like, he has been loyal like crazy, but he's gotten absolutely nothing out of it, and they've gotten a little bit close to the NBA Finals one time. That's about it. So, like, they really haven't gotten there with Dame Lillard, and he's given everything to them.
Dame time need to check out. He don't punch that clock. He done punched that clock one too many times, okay? Listen, Jay put it exactly how I was going to say it. We want the players to be loyal, but the front office ain't loyal. You got to be loyal to yourself. Yeah. And in a system that is, as you said, John, a small window. Think about it like this, and we know this to be the case, okay? I'll take the NFL. The average lifespan of an NFL player is 3.75, all right? You want to get through your rookie contract because you know when you hit that fourth year, as you go into that possible next contract, when you're supposed to be, quote, unquote, in your prime, that's when you get them big dollars. That's when you got that generational wealth coming up. But
right.
Guess what?
If you can make it to that point.
Right. But guess what? If you don't produce, there's a litany of guys waiting to take your spot.
Always.
You know that as well as any. We all know that, okay? What's the saying? Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
So we want the Dame Lillards to stick around. We want the Mike Trout to stick around. Up until he left and went to Tampa, we wanted Brady to stick around because it showed loyalty for a team. But if the wins ain't coming in, you have to look at yourself as a player, as an athlete, and say to yourself, okay, what's going to be best for not only myself, but also my family? Because the front office ain't thinking about you.
You're right. No, you're right. I think the biggest problem with the players that they don't realize, there's things called teams of all-stars and all-star teams. LeBron James and the Miami Heat, I think, were a great example of both. They were a team of all-star players, but they were also a great team the way they played together. Some players just get together like KD and Kyrie. I don't think that they think past we're friends. And that's my biggest issue with the play. They think, oh, let's just join my friends. But you need to think about players you can actually play ball with, not just because you're his friend, but who can you actually who can you mesh with? Who can you work together well with that will also be your friend? That's the thing. A lot of these players want to make teams of all-stars. That's what they want. They want to make, as many all-star players on one team. But that's not how you win championships. Because if you give me 5 role players that play better together than anybody else in the entire sport versus a team of LeBron and AD and the rest of their roster the way they have it, right? That team that plays so well together might win, not because their players are better, but because they know how to play so well together. They have a brand of basketball. They make it work to the point that they can win. And I'm not saying that these players are always going to make it perfect. I understand it's hard to figure that out. You play pickup games, it's different. But you got to get a sense of who you can play with and who you can't. Putting KD and Kyrie together, I knew was a bad idea. I think everybody did. Why? Because they're both alphas. Do you think it
was a bad idea, or was it because Fat Suit got there and that ruined everything? And they could have
help either. That didn't help either. But I didn't think it was. I never was super high on it because I didn't know if they could handle playing together on the court, because KD likes to be that guy, but so does Kyrie. That's one of the issues Kyrie and LeBron had together when they played together. It was a lot of clashing, right? They butt heads. KD, in my opinion, doesn't do a very good job of conceding that alpha role to somebody else, and I don't think Kyrie was going to either. Now, granted, they didn't really play together much anyway to begin with for a litany of other reasons that we could go on and discuss. So it's hard to say how well they actually really would have played together.
Yeah, if you
in a
gave
full
us 3 or
season.
4 full seasons, what would have happened if they got a different superstar? Say you put Dame Lillard there, not James Harden, as that third superstar. Like, Eric, what would have happened if they all were healthy?
I'm telling you right now, if they were all healthy and you put Dame Lillard with KD and Kyrie, they were the team. Then I'm telling you, they were the team. Because I disagree with Jake in the sense that they didn't make it work. I think the body of work is what we haven't seen. You said it was a mistake from jump. I disagree. I think putting the two of them together, knowing that there's a friendship along with, playing the game of basketball, being stars, both individually and then collectively, I'm saying to myself, you put the two of them together healthy, and then you added Dame Lillard, oh yeah, the Brooklyn they're a top contender team from jump. But the body of work is what we didn't see. And now it's just going to be a question of now what if. That's what
we couldn't have expected a pandemic to come in the middle of this run that they created. We couldn't have expected one of their superstars, Kyrie, to do what he did and make that decision, which I respect, because everybody should have their, we've said that before, everybody should have their choice in regards to whether they want to get vaccinated or not. It was a stupid rule to begin with that he couldn't play whenever other players, Yankee players, could play, other things like that. But, then again,
different
Kyrie
sports,
play.
different people, different whatever, yeah.
It was a stupid rule anyway. But we haven't talked about KD. And, I mean, we saw what was given for Rudy Gobert, Eric.
God.
I mean, that has to be a win for the Nets, because you're going to get more for KD than you're going to get for Rudy Gobert. And I know his contract is massive, and he has 4 years left on his contract. But he still is KD. And I would think that they would have to get the haul that they got, that Gobert got, that the Jazz got for Gobert. I would think the Nets would have
John,
to
you want to talk about Rudy Gobert real quick? I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a team get fleeced so bad for one player. That was so ridiculous.
It's because he's statistically one of the best defenders.
It's not only that. I think it was also
all defensive, all of the defensive player of the years. That's not my opinion. I'm just telling you why they did it. Is because they locked down.
I think also
Cat
part of the
him,
problem.
That's going to be really hard to get through. So I understand.
I think that was the other problem. Cat, I think he was going to sign probably anyway with the Timberwolves, because he's just, he's a loyal guy. That's how he is. But I think they finally realized, I think we got to help Cat out a little bit.
They're not worried about draft picks at this point either.
They're just like, maybe we should try and help him. I don't know what took them so long to wise up to help him, because they've had plenty of time to do it. But I also got to tell you, man, that trade was so bad. I mean, congratulations, Jazz. You got rid of a problem on your team, and you got a massive haul that you should not have received, but doesn't matter because you're benefiting. It doesn't hurt you. It helps you in the long run. It's unbelievable. I mean, I will say this. I think with Cat, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert, there's a solid team there now. I think that's a very strong team. Yeah. And it's in a tough division too, which is the important part to really think about is they beefed up that lineup because I think they knew they couldn't take care of business with what they had. But I think with Rudy Gobert, it helps. It gives them a real opportunity.
I don't think it's a bad move, Jake. I just think
I agree.
They gave up a lot, but I understand. Like, you have that kind of presence down low.
I get it.
As won all the defensive player of the years. Like, how could you turn that down? But if you're going to give up that much, in my opinion, you should have went and got, again, like a Dame Lillard or something like that. If you're going to give up that
or
much.
Or even Kyrie.
Like, I don't understand giving up that much for Gobert when if you're going to give up that much for somebody, go and get a superstar. I don't look at Gobert as a superstar. Like, he's just not that guy to me.
If you ask me, I would put like KD, Kyrie, LeBron. Those guys are the top of the top, and I'm not. And I'm not saying. I'm not saying where they rank on top of each other. That's not the point. And Dame too, like you said, John, they're the tippy top. They are the top of the mountain. They are the highest of the high, right? They're the biggest superstars. For me, Rudy Gobert is on that next tier below, where I don't know if we're calling them superstars or stars or what we want to call it, but he is one of the premier players, and he's just outside of that superstar level. He's an incredible player. He's just, to me, I don't think a guy you start your franchise around, and that's what most of those superstars are. But he's definitely a guy you want on your team, no doubt. That is, no matter what, he is a guy you absolutely 1,000% want on your team because of his ability to play the game.
Eric's chomping at the bit.
I can see it.
And I just, listen, I respect what Gobert has done, okay? And Rudy definitely adds a different piece. He's a complementary piece, if you will, to the team.
Right.
Am I starting a franchise around him? No.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Am I looking for him to be the guy that's going to attract, the talent that we need to win a championship? No. Rudy Gobert to me is a complementary piece, and I don't see anything more than that with regard to him. And again, I asked this question. Shout out to our friend D from Sports and Coffee. She does that on Twitter Space every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. Shameless plug. I asked this question. I respect the hell out of KD for what he does on the court and his ability to play the game, but can we stop calling him a leader? Because I don't feel Kevin Durant is a leader. A leader is someone who takes charge when necessary in all facets, not just one aspect.
So
you start with, and I'll be really quick, Jake. You start with
go.
2012 or 2011, whatever year it was that him and Russ and Harden got to the NBA Finals.
Lost to my Heat.
Okay, and then you lost to the Heat that year. You rode with them for a couple of years, and then you go to Golden State. All right, you get yourself 2 rings. You leave Golden State. Now you're in Brooklyn. And you still have been unable to secure the bag. You know what I mean? It's like you might have got your contract and you might have got your money, but you don't have that hardware.
So
now there's talk of you leaving again.
No,
Go on, Jake.
So for me, KD has never been a leader. What he is a loud voice in the room that demands attention, not because he deserves it, but because he needs to have the attention. But he doesn't deserve it. When he was in Golden State, and John, I know you talked about this, and I will let you speak more on this because this is mostly your point, but I do agree with what you said, so I wanted to bring it up. KD won Finals MVP. He was a great player. But you know why he won that MVP? Because Steph and Clay, both leaders of that team, helped get him the ball more, tried to help facilitate the ball with him, to make it around him because they knew he was a great player. And that's fine. But that's what leaders do, and that's the important thing, right? KD, when he was in OKC, wasn't a leader. It was just 3 guys yelling at each other. It was a bunch of voices yelling at each other is what it feels like to me. They were just trying to figure out, they were getting into the league, trying to figure their roles out. It was a mess. Then he goes to Golden State, like we just talked about, and I just said that it wasn't him being the leader. Somebody else was the leader for him, and they gave, he was one of the voices in the room because of his experience, but not because of his leadership. And there's a difference. And then in Brooklyn, same thing. I don't think KD nor Kyrie were necessarily leaders in that locker room, but I prefer Kyrie probably in that scenario over KD because to me, KD just sounds like a giant baby that he wants money and rings.
I
and
mean,
he doesn't care how he gets it.
Let's not let Kyrie off the hook.
I'm not.
This guy's holding practices behind Steve Nash's back.
I'm not.
Steve Nash held practices.
I'm not saying either of them are a leader. They're not.
Come on.
Neither of them are leaders, and they proved it. But my point is KD's one of those guys that's chasing money and chasing rings his entire career.
Okay, but hold on, Jake. Which one is he chasing more then? Because that's my question. Which one is he chasing more? Are you chasing the money or are you chasing the rings? Because if you're chasing the rings, you would have stayed in Golden State. You would have ran it with Golden State regardless. Right. You left to go to Brooklyn. Why? You know what I'm saying? That was my question. Why did you go to Brooklyn? Did you go to Brooklyn because you wanted to be a leader, or did you go chase the money? See, to me, it's one or the other. It can't be both.
I don't think it's
some people.
For me, when he went to Brooklyn, for when he went to Brooklyn, it was neither about the money nor the rings.
So then
I
what was
think
it about?
it was about
Yeah,
going to play with
teaming up with his
Kyrie.
buddy.
He wanted to play with his friend, and he knew. And I think in that scenario, he knew playing with his friend. He knew he would garner money, but it wasn't chasing after money. If anything, he was chasing after a ring. If you're going to choose one of the two, because he knew he was going to get money no matter where he went. So chasing money wasn't going to be a problem. He was going to get money literally anywhere he went.
Yeah,
It was just a matter of how much he would get, but he knew he'd get money. So
He
he
was
wasn't
gonna
worried
get-
about
he
that.
was gonna
Okay,
get
so
the
then he's
bag.
chasing the bag. He's not chasing the championship.
So
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
you chasing the money. You're not chasing multiple titles because
so
you had that scenario in Golden State, and then you left.
Katie's
So,
one of those
Eric,
guys that has to have it his way. That's what
let
it
me
is.
ask you this question: which is more
Sure.
of a detriment to KD's legacy? Is it what he didn't do in Brooklyn, one of the biggest failures for a big three we've ever seen from any NBA team, or him teaming up with Golden State? We know the story of that. He couldn't beat him. He was up 3-1, and then he ended up joining them. And that's always a detriment. People always say, well, this guy didn't win a real ring, and all that stuff, and that's always tied to his legacy, and he's always knocked for that. So what's a bigger detriment to the legacy of Kevin Durant? Which one? Because, I mean, both are pretty damning whenever you look
I'm
at.
saying chasing the money.
No,
I'm saying
not
chasing the
money.
money.
No, the failure in Brooklyn that he had,
okay.
or chasing Golden State, the team he couldn't beat when he was up 3-1. Which one's a bigger failure and a bigger knock on his
I'll give my input
legacy?
after Eric.
Well, so here's the thing, John. We don't know if he's definitely leaving Brooklyn, so I can't answer that question. If he definitely leaves Brooklyn,
No, but this is over. The
and
Brooklyn
goes somewhere
experiment
else?
is over.
well, we
Not
don't know that.
necessarily.
Come on,
Well,
guys. This
Okay,
is done.
John.
It's not.
The
It's not officially
the ink
done yet.
has not dried yet.
Right.
So
I agree with you,
therefore-
John, that it's likely. It's almost guaranteed, but it hasn't officially
Right.
happened. So
But
I think that's
you
what Eric
ask
is trying
yourself,
to say.
this experiment.
If you're
done,
asking
right?
that question based on what we know currently, I'm going to say him being in Brooklyn is more of a detriment
I agree.
than him going to Golden State. To
I-
answer
I-
your question, I will
Yeah.
say Brooklyn.
I
but-
completely agree.
With the caveat, if he stays in Brooklyn,
That answer
then
could change.
I don't see any detriment on him yet.
Right.
You can throw an asterisk on him all you want about him leaving OKC and Golden State and getting 2 titles. Guess what? What you can't take from him is the fact that he's got 2 titles.
Absolutely.
He could have done more.
Let me preface that by saying I never knock him for doing that because, like you said earlier, Eric, the shelf life of these guys is short, and you got to do what's best for your family and your money and whatever it is. And these front offices don't care about
And
you.
he also
I
wanted to
never
create a
knock-
legacy for himself.
I never knock.
He wanted
KD.
to have rings. I get it.
I never
John.
knock KD for going to Golden State and winning. Like, I can't, because professional athletes got to do what they got to do. And you're going to look at KD, and if he doesn't go there and win, what are you going to say about him? You're going to say the same thing that was said about LeBron James before he went to Miami and won a title. This guy can't do it. This guy can't get it done. This guy can't win. That's going to be the knock on him. But then whenever he goes and wins, it's not the way you want him to win. Guess what? A ring is still
That's
a
not the way
ring.
life
LeBron
works.
James has won every single place he's went. Like,
John.
just because he's chased teams and stuff like that doesn't mean LeBron James doesn't have, 4 rings? Like, you can't
LeBron has
take that
4.
away and put asterisks on a championship. Like, a win is a win, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else. No matter how much media wants to push a narrative on KD or push it on LeBron for leaving Cleveland, going to Miami and forming that team, and then come back and winning, and then going to the Lakers and winning. He still won. That's
John,
all that matters. Who cares?
Let me bring
Well,
it
he
home
did it.
for you before Jake gets his piece in. Let me
Yeah.
bring it home for you really quick, okay? What is this network? What is this network? I'm asking.
Oh, this is a a family, not just a group of people, but this is a family. Sideline Sports is a family.
Okay, Sideline Sports. Okay.
Yeah.
Before October of 2021, was the sports arena a part of Sideline Sports?
No, it wasn't.
Nope.
Okay. So what did the sports arena do? The sports arena saw an opportunity to elevate the brand and said, I'm going to join Sideline Sports Network. Same thing.
And I agree.
I don't knock it.
There's nothing wrong with joining, but if you're trying to win championships, if you're trying to build your legacy, and Eric, you kind of touched on it, and I totally agree. If all he wanted to do was just build his legacy, just keep winning, why did you leave Golden State, man? That's why I'm with you about the Brooklyn thing. Now, granted, I agree with what you said also, Eric, is, he didn't leave yet. He's still on Brooklyn. We don't know. But assuming things go the way we expect, I would agree with what was being said, which is, yeah, it's obviously Brooklyn. Why? Because you had all signs pointing towards at least one more, if not two more championships in Golden State. Possibly more. Who knows? You can't tell the future. But I would have put money. I would have put all the money I have to say they get at least one more. At least one. So he walks away with 3 championships guaranteed. But instead, what does he do? He leaves to go play with his friend. And it's so far been a colossal failure.
And to answer your question, Jake, KD is a different breed. He's a one of a kind. And I say that because I've never seen a superstar in the NBA care about what other people think so much. And I think that's why he left to go somewhere else, was he heard the whispers, heard the chirping about people saying, well, this guy couldn't get it done in OKC. So he joined Golden State, and then he couldn't get it done. He can't get it done without them. So I think he wanted to go and prove himself somewhere. He chose Brooklyn. It just happened to be a place he chose.
He bet on himself.
He chose his buddy Kyrie. Then eventually he got his old buddy James Harden, who he played with in OKC, and he said, let's do it. I want to show that I don't need to join Golden State to go win a championship. There's no other superstar I look at and say, yeah, he cares about what other people think more than him. The only other guy that's close for me is LeBron James, that cares about what the media says, what other people say about him. Right. That's the only 2 people I can think of that care that deeply about what people say.
LeBron don't care.
LeBron cares. There's a reason.
He cares, but not like that much.
No, he doesn't.
There's a reason why he left. Did the same thing to Miami as KD did to Golden State. He could have stayed in Miami, but he left to go back to Cleveland. He wanted to show that he didn't need a super team.
He wanted to go home, John.
Win it.
Yeah, he wanted to go home, John.
He didn't go home.
That's apples and oranges.
He heard the whisper. He was the villain. No. Remember, he was the villain, and he doesn't like being the villain. He likes to be the good guy.
Ask LeBron that now.
He was the good guy. LeBron
don't care.
Yeah, he's a villain.
But back then,
he always will
before he had won a championship, he was the bad guy. He was the villain. He is the guy that joined up, with his super team. And if you remember how much vitriol he got when he joined Miami, when he did the decision, you could see it affected him.
He got 4 rings, bro. You think LeBron cares?
But he hadn't. But I'm saying when he got to Miami, he hadn't won anything. And
you
heard Skip Bayless every day, and those guys blabbing on about how he can't get it done. You know what I mean? He cared.
John, don't talk about Skip Bayless, because that man straight up said yesterday something about how the Cowboys have a chance to win a championship next year.
I didn't tell you. I didn't say that he was right.
I know. I'm just telling you. I read something yesterday.
Couldn't get it done back then before he got it done in Miami.
All right. Anyway, I want to move on real quick. Talk some more basketball though. And I said to John, I said this is a topic I wanted to talk about really badly, because to me, there's a lot of contracts have been thrown out. It's great, and I understand this one, but I also don't. Okay. Zion Williamson gets basically a supermax. If he gets a 5-year extension, and it can be a supermax depending on what happens next season.
Right.
But regardless, man's going to make a lot of money no matter what. But I'd like to point out, Zion Williamson hasn't played very much. Now I get he's been hurt. I understand that. But he played 24 games in 2019 and 20. Then in 2020/2021, he played 61 games. He hasn't played since. He has played a total of 85 games in the NBA, and they just gave him a 5-year max contract, basically. Now, I get you have a young superstar, or potential superstar, I should say. But and I will defer to you guys to hear your opinions in a moment. But to me, I don't get that. I get you want. And I get it, and I don't get it. I get you want to lock your guys up. I understand that, and I understand maybe he demands a lot of money. But for a guy that, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty unproven, and more importantly, was just injured, and you don't know what's going to happen after said injury when he comes back to play, whenever that may be at this point, because I don't know. That's a lot of money to be shelling out right now to a guy that's played 85 games and we don't know what's going to happen when he comes back. That's, to me, not really great. The Pelicans don't look like they're doing too hot.
So I just want to say before I let Eric go, this is not even close. What Zion's done in the limited time we've seen him, far above what Greg Oden failed to accomplish in his short time in the NBA. When Zion's played, he's looked fantastic. Like, if you look at his stats, he's been amazing, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the court. But like, make no mistake about it. If you look at Zion's stats when he does play, which is not very often, he's fantastic. So he's not Greg Oden. It's not even close. I get the comparison about how he could, but Greg Oden was also too young, and his body wasn't ready to take on the rigors of the NBA. If he had stayed in college longer, this is not to go on about Greg Oden, but if he had stayed in college longer, I think that he could have developed physically. His frame going into the NBA that young, it was just too much, too fast. But anyway, Zion Williamson, Eric, please go on, because I don't have any problem with this, and I completely understand it.
So, wow. I understand the reasoning, because as John, both you and Jake alluded to, it's the lack of on-court presence that we have seen from Zion, which is why people are throwing out the name Greg Oden. Okay? I get it. I do. What I have an issue with is his health playing a factor and still being rewarded, if you will, with that type of contract. But now I will also in the same breath say, if they're going to be selfish, and not selfish, but if they're going to be that giving with the money, hell, write us a check. Let's go. Sideline Sports. We'll take care of all your media production. Sign up. If you're going to spend that kind of money on a player who has played 85 games.
85 games in, technically, because even though he didn't play last year, that would be still 3 seasons. 85 games over 3 seasons, even though he's out for 1.
So you play in an 82-game season, and I know 2020 was a shorter season, but if we're taking a full 82-game season, that means in each one of the last 3 seasons you played 33 1/3%.
About a third.
To be fair, he played majority of 2020 when the pandemic happened. He played majority. He played 61 games, but that was during the pandemic.
But that was a shortened schedule, John.
No, I know, but I'm saying he still played 61 games.
No, I know.
And when he did,
okay, so fine. Let's take the body of work though. The body of work is 3 years.
Yeah.
So if you take 82 times 3, that's 246.
No, I'm not siding.
My biggest thing is this, real quick.
He did have one season where he actually played almost an entire 82.
Here's my problem.
All right.
In 1920, when he could play the full season, he only played 24 games. So that's, again,
now we know he was coming off that injury, correct, Eric?
I know.
During that time?
But still, that's only a fourth of the season, roughly. It's a little bit more probably, but roughly. Then John, shortened season, he plays most of it. That's great. We haven't seen him play since that season ended.
And he averaged 27 in that
season. I know, but we haven't seen him play since. I'm not
discounting the athleticism, nor am I discounting what Zion has done. I am just of the mindset that, and again, because I'm not on that level, my analogy is based on my life.
So let me ask
you. If I for 3 years only worked 33% of the time, am I worthy of a super max contract?
Yeah.
Am I worthy of getting a raise
as high as you can be, basically?
To, someone who has done the work over the last 3+ years?
Right. Should you be earning the max amount you can, basically?
No.
I think because he's only 4.4. That's a very small sample size. But he's only 4.4 points per game away from tying Michael Jordan for a career average for the most all time out of anybody ever. He's 4.4 average in points less per career, like per season, than Michael Jordan.
But that's
now
hard to judge.
Hold on, Jake. I get it. Like I said, it's a very small sample size, but this guy's average. Let me show you his stats.
I know. I'm looking at
25.7 per game, 60.4% from the field, which is I get it. He's a forward. You're going to shoot a high clip, but still, you're making 60% of your shots, almost 26 points per game, 7 boards. He needs to get the boards up. I think 7 boards per game with a guy that's that big, 284 pounds, that big. I think he needs to get the boards up. That's just me. However, guys, you forget he's 22 years old.
I know.
Like, this guy's not 26, and we're like, I don't know. He's in the prime of his career. Like, he hasn't even hit his prime yet. Like, and they're building around him. They're trying to get pieces and things like that. Yeah. I mean, they went and traded for C.J. McCollum.
I will agree with Jay. Yes, they are trying to build around him. I am just of the mindset that type of dollars should not have been given to Zion until I've seen Zion play a full season.
Right. I think Zion should have gotten another year or two on his an extension.
But he was also asking,
maybe 2 years.
He was going to ask out eventually. So this is a way of keeping him. You're trying to build around him. You're giving him the large deal. You're giving him his bag. You're trying to build around him. They're doing everything they can to keep what is supposed to be a generational type of draft pick. Because, I mean, he's like LeBron James type of size. Whenever you see that, you don't see guys built like that. So if he can hold up physically, and to me, part of that is he hasn't taken it serious when it comes to condition. As Troy Gary said, condition is a problem. I agree with that. I think that he hasn't taken it quite serious when it comes to being okay with not being able to eat what you want. Like, that's not a knock on him, but it seems like he just eats kind of sort of like worse than a regular. Like, as a professional athlete, you have to be okay with, like, you just can't eat those things anymore. And it seems like Zion hasn't gotten that down yet. But, man, like, the reason they give him this deal is he's 22. Is he averaging almost 26 points per game, shooting 60% over his career? Like, you have to give him this deal. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They were forced into this because you can't let him force his way out. Because if you lose Zion, what do you really have? Like, you have some nice pieces, but
You're
Zion is the core,
but John,
and then everything else around him.
Here's the problem, John. Because if he forces his way out, so he forces his way out, you lose Zion. Let's say he doesn't force his way out, but because of injuries, it's going to take him a couple of years, or let's just say at least another season, maybe 2, to really get back to full health, to be at the level he was previously. Was it really worth it?
The Pelicans aren't going to live that way, where they're like, well, he might get. They have
my
to
point
live
is,
in the now.
Or would it have been worth it to say? Would it have been worth it to say, hey, let's give him a 2-year contract extension. Let's help him get healthy. Tell him we want you to get healthy. We want to help you get healthy first. And once that's done, then we're going to give you the full contract done. That way, when we give you your Supermax, we're going to get you to give you that most money when you're most deserving.
But Jake,
that's the logic to me.
NFL.
That's the logic to me.
You're talking like that's how it would go in the NFL. This isn't the NFL, man. This is the NBA. It's completely different with how superstars run this.
I get it, but John,
like
to me, they're giving a lot of money to a guy that's pretty unproven. And when I say unproven, because of what Eric was getting at, which is the lack of playing. That's the only thing that's unproven to me. That's it. And the only thing I'm worried about is when he comes back from injury. Right. Other than that, I know how great he can be. I've seen it. There's no questions about that. It's just he hasn't played a lot. So it's a lot of money for doing a lot of nothing. It's a lot of sitting around. He's earning a lot of money. And, John, you talked about his health. His eating habits aren't great either, which could kind of hurt him in the end. That could really be a problem.
But, I mean, I think of it like the WNBA, Eric, because we just saw what happened in the WNBA. While Sports Arena, shameless plug, Monday and Wednesdays, they'll be back tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. We will talk about Tina Charles. Like, when you see players, like, how finicky the NBA and WNBA is, because these rosters are so small, it's a different ball game. Like, you don't have a 53-man roster like the NFL. Like, you don't have, like, 25, 26 guys. You don't have, like, the luxury of that whenever it comes to baseball. Like, you don't have all those players. In the WNBA and the NBA, you have 12 people at most, like 12, 13 at most. Like, your rosters are very small. And when talent comes, I don't get the Tina Charles thing. I still don't understand that. But when talent comes in the WNBA and the NBA, you cannot pass up on it. Like, you have to, and we saw, like, the NFL, Eric, NFL draft, you can find gems.
Yeah.
Like WNBA draft and NBA draft, it's very hard. Most of the draft picks don't pan out, and more often than not, like you find yourself with a bust rather than like a star. It's hard to find a star. So like when you have a Zion, who we saw in limited sample size what he can be, you got to invest in that.
I understand your lens, John. I'm looking at it through your lens, and you and I are on the same boat in
Right.
that regard. However, listen, I'm an old head, man. You got to earn your money.
I agree.
I'm an old head. You go out there, you pack yourself a lunch, you show everybody that you're the best of the best. That way, when contract time comes around, hey, you have nothing. You have no reason not to give me that money. Because here's the thing that I'm looking at right now. Yes, Zion is 22 years old. Yes, the sample size that we have seen of him shows, as you pointed out, he hits almost the mark of and Michael Jordan based on what he has done. And I get that. We are in no way stating that he is Michael Jordan. We are in no way stating that he is even close to MJ. But what we are saying is, if you look at it analytically, the man's numbers stack up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pretty damn
so
good.
I get that. I am just of the mindset that you bust your ass and show the world why I am the cream of the crop. I am the 0.0001% and why I am that guy that should be getting in excess of $200 million.
Right. And the other thing real quick is also, I just was curious about his contract situation. That's what I thought. He didn't have to get a new contract until after next season, where he'd be a restricted free agent. So what they could have also done was even just get him to play part of the season to make sure he's healthy enough, and then give him a contract, literally just extended during the season. There's no reason not to.
You're thinking the way they handle business in the NFL. Like that's the way they handle things in the NFL.
John, what I'm thinking is about money. I don't want to waste money on a guy that might not be what he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, in the NBA, they waste money on players.
I know they do. That's my point.
Like that's NBA all the time.
You're right, but that's the point of what I'm getting at.
Zion is one of those players that's like a mid-level player that's getting
you said it. John, you said it. They waste money in the NBA. That was what I was getting at.
Of course.
Zion likely isn't a waste. It's likely a great extension.
As I said
before, off chance that it's not, they didn't have to do it yet, which is why I was wary.
The smaller the rosters, the more likely you're going to get these contracts. That's why guys can get these deals. Because
but John, it's not like he was a restricted free agent yet.
No. But
they had time to do this, which is my point.
You're thinking of it the way we handle it in the NFL. Like the way that it's handled in the NFL is like it's the way you're talking. That's NFL speak. The NBA is a completely different animal when it comes to this stuff. They're doing it based off of like in the NFL, Jake. Do you see after 2 years, you're like, hey, Lamar Jackson has a 4-year rookie deal with a 5th-year option. After 2 years, are you like, yeah, let's go and give Lamar Jackson a brand new deal? That's not the way it happens in the NFL. And you know that. Fun. Kyler Murray wants a new deal after 3, and he still has 1 more year and a player option for a 5th year. He still has that. And
that's to be fair, those contracts are also longer, though, like you just said.
But
they go up to 5 years.
I think we all agree on this panel that when Kyler Murray says, give me a new deal after 3, all of us are like, the hell are you talking about? You need to go and prove it. That's the way the NFL works is if you haven't proven it, you don't get a new deal. They don't go off of potential. In the NBA, they go off of what you've done, but also in Zion's case, they go off the potential of what he's going to give you for the next 15 years.
If Joe Burrow did the same thing as Kyler Murray, I'd say yes right now.
No.
I would.
No, you don't have to.
But I would. And that's fine, but that's what I would do. And
you don't have to.
But my point is to John.
Did you beat the odds? Yes. But at the end of the day, I still would not give him that type of money. Yeah, you got there, and it's great, wonderful, fantastic. Something that hasn't been done in 30 years. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to get back there. See, I got to see repetition. I got to see that there's
absolutely. That's my point, though.
Okay.
If I'm saying if Joe Burrow does it again, right? So Joe Burrow's entering year 3 right now, right? So if after year 3 we see him do it again, which is what John said, Kyler Murray in year 3, I'm saying Joe Burrow does year 3, we see him do it again. If he asks me for that kind of money, the answer is unequivocally, absolutely have at it. Why? Because he just proved to me he can do it.
Whether he wins or not, you're still going to give it to him.
If he can get me back to that point, absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Because if he could do it in his real first, full year, right?
Right.
Where he has to beat the odds, where his team is clearly not the best, he does that, but then goes back when the team gets better. So you're building around, you're trying to help him now. It's not the best the team can be yet because that defense, while good, can be better. They fix the things around Joe now. They help him. He puts up better numbers than last year. He helps the team be great again. I would give him the money, and it's simple because I want to lock him down. I want to keep him on my team. I want him to know we're in on him, and then I want to build on that defense to make it.
Okay, but Jake, that's the
caliber.
same thing as what John is saying about Zion then.
And that's fine. But hold on. What I'm saying is I need to see proof. I need to see.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk proof, look. All right, I just said if you want to talk proof, then it's the analytics side and say, look what this guy can do when he is healthy, when he is on the court.
Right.
So to John's point, then, yeah, what you're saying about Joe Burrow, John is saying the exact same thing about Zion. And I still am saying to both of those guys, no.
My thing is, I saw Joe Burrow come off of injury.
This isn't like the way you and I think, where we're like old school. We're like, yeah, you got to prove it. Like the sports, like athletes today, it's fine. Like
that's why I disagree with what's happening. Because for me, Joe Burrow got hurt, came back, proved himself, and in this fictional scenario I'm creating, he proved himself again. He proved it twice. Zion shows what he can do, gets hurt, haven't seen him prove himself yet. That's my concern. After the injury,
so you're willing, Jake, you're willing to pay a quarterback. So what's going to happen with the Bengals is, and we see it with every team, is when you start paying a quarterback 40, 45 million, you lose those other pieces. Like you take away from the other pieces in the NFL. See, that's the difference between the NBA and the NFL is in the NBA, you can go over the luxury tax. You can pay, if you're the owner, you can go over the luxury tax. And that'll come out of your check, basically. But the NFL is different. Like you can't afford to jump the gun on Joe Burrow 3 seasons early or 2 seasons early and say, let's give him a $45 million a year contract. Because guess what? When that happens, you start losing guys like Joe Mixon. You start losing guys like T. Higgins. You start losing those pieces around Joe Burrow that you need to help make Joe Burrow successful.
I think my ultimate point.
That's the way the NFL works. So if you can keep a guy on a rookie contract, a quarterback, you do it for as long as you can.
But that's my point.
The formula for winning a Super Bowl.
That's my point right there. Keep Zion on his rookie contract as long as you can.
But it's a different game, Jake. You're thinking of it like NFL terms. This isn't the NFL.
You're missing what I'm getting at.
Like you got to separate the two.
You're missing the whole point of what I'm getting at. Then I'm getting at if your guy proves to you over and over, especially after an injury, which both guys have the injury factor, right? If you prove to me multiple times you still got it, okay, I want to give you my money. But if you've been injured, right, and you haven't proven to me yet, because Joe Burrow in very limited play before his injury showed me he's got it, but then he got hurt. Comes back
with a losing record, right? With a losing record, right? With
Zion has a losing record too. What's your point? Zion loses too. What's your point?
NBA is different when it comes to being a quarterback. Your win-loss matters. In NBA, it doesn't matter what your win-loss.
I'm talking statistically. I'm just talking. Let's analyze stats. That's it. Joe Burrow proved to me that he could play in the NFL before he gets hurt, and more importantly, as I was stating, after his injury. Zion proved before his injury he could play. I haven't seen him since his injury. Players in all sports. Has Joe Burrow
proved he deserves the deal right now? If they said
I said no. I said I need another season. I said I need one more season, and then I would feel confident about it.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten that yet. For Zion, I've gotten the season before the injury, and I got a full season, which is something I didn't get with Joe Burrow, which is also a determining factor. As Joe Burrow gave me a small sample size injury,
Joe Burrow
then a
has
full
better
season.
Stats, and they go 8-9 and miss the playoffs. Does he get a new deal?
No.
That's not what I'm saying,
Why, Jake? He would have he would have a better season than he had last year. He would prove himself to you, right?
You are completely missing the point of what I'm getting at.
I'm just asking you a question. What does proven himself?
You're missing what I'm.
Is it because he got to
I'm
the Super Bowl?
saying? For me personally, guys earn their money when they prove themselves. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Zion proved something before he got hurt, but after he got hurt, I haven't seen him prove himself again. That's all I'm getting at. That's it.
I just want to know
Joe Burrow has proved himself since injury.
What gives Joe Burrow a new contract after 3 years in your mind? If he does it, what does he have to do this year?
For me personally, that he would earn his money.
Yep.
He got injured. He proved himself. I need him to see him do it again. I need to know it wasn't a fluke season. It didn't just
Back
happen
to
once.
Super Bowl?
I need to see him do that again. I need to see him play at the level and bring his team up to the level that he did last year. I'm not saying it needs to be Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah,
I'm just saying they making the playoffs is very important. But if they make the playoffs and Joe Burrow declines, I don't really care.
Okay.
It doesn't
I
mean
was
anything.
just curious, like, what your standards are for.
My standards is that they live up to the standards that they're expected to play. That's it.
Great
Earn your
answer.
money. Earn your money. There is an expectation set on you to play a certain way. Go earn it. Go earn your money. That's my standard. Any last comments before we got to wrap things up here, gentlemen?
I think you're crazy.
Well,
I'm normally the
says
crazy
a lot
one,
coming from you.
I'm the crazy one normally, but tonight Jake has taken my role.
I had 2 weeks of being off and not listening to John's voice, and I guess part of me was kind of like I was happy to be back, so I kind of missed it. Not so much, but I got to still deal with John tomorrow.
Thanks.
Shameless plug, 10 p.m. The Sports Arena is back, baby. But gentlemen, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on.
Always. We appreciate you coming on, Eric. All right, John, tell them where they can get you.
Yeah, of course. BlueHawks13 on Twitter. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube, Sideline Sports. And make sure you check out all of our shows Sunday through Saturday, because that's how the calendar works, Eric Wilson. You can check out all of our shows. Go to the Sports Arena website, the Sports Arena, I believe, what is it, Eric? SportsArena1.com. You can see all of the shows of Sideline Sports on there. Rudy Reyes, the Rude Dog Show, has just been added to the network. Dave Stevens, 7-time Emmy winner, formerly of ESPN, has joined Sideline Sports, joined the Troy and Gary Show, or Gary and Stein Show, which is now Gary Stevens. Gary Stein and Stevens. Man, that's going to be hard to get. Like, that's such a tongue twister. But so he's joined that 7-time Emmy winner, formerly of ESPN. He's joined Sideline Sports Network. And we have shows every single day of the week. All of our people are absolutely amazing. And I'll kick it to you.
Absolutely. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. Most importantly, you can find Sideline Sports as you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Instagram and Twitter is Sideline Sport 1. YouTube and Facebook is Sideline Sports. We have a group of a page. Just look us up. We are on DBTV, formerly known as DBNA. Television is now DBTV. For those that have been following us for a little while, that is what it is, dbtv.com. Go check it out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TikTok. We are everywhere, like I always say. Just look us up. You will find us. And on that note, everybody have a good one, and we will see you next time.